Now, I wanted to do a video. This one's going to be about swirlers, divestors, and some preconceived notions about swirlers and divestors. So, I've had quite a few different platforms I've looked at, and I've had a lot of different people came to my channel, black men who come to the channel. And a major thing that I notice with black men is the biggest problem that they ever have is not their character, but looks. I'll get into that. So, personally, from what I've seen, is like with swirlers and divestors, many of the time on many platforms, you hear more of the black struggle love situations with baby daddy problems, basically, criminal problems, people who have domestic abuse, people who have um, cheating, people who have just other problems that they complain about, people not interested in them, I think, in some cases. Um, just, you know, that quality of men. And some people associate that with black men specifically. I personally have my own opinions on that whole situation where I'm very neutral on that. I'm not of the mindset that oh, white men are better than black men. I don't think black men are better than white men. When it comes to behavior, I mean, to me, a person is a person. You don't define them by their skin color. You define them by who they are as a person. And basically, if they are the right person for you as far as their personality. I mean, if they're a keeper, if you want them to stick around and you don't just want to, play. But, you know, to me, that's how I see it. That's not what I value. But people value different things and they perceive things differently, and I don't um, judge them for that. The thing is, for me, it's like I often notice that with black men, it's more so like more triggering, I think, my type of perspective because I'm not the type that's ever been attracted to black men. And I've not been attracted to black men not because of personality, it's just phenotype. I do not find their aesthetics or phenotype attractive. And it's not against them because of, thinking white men are better or whatever than them because personally for me I I don't like fetishize white men basically. That's just not how I operate, I guess you could say. I just don't value it like that. I'm either attracted to a man or I'm not, and I'm going to be attracted to him based off of his masculinity and how attractive he is. But, you know, that turns out not to be black men because to me, I overall consider black men pretty feminine. And the reason I consider them feminine generally is just their facial features to me. It's just like, I think their lips are full, round, and feminine. You know, honestly, with the lip situation, I tried, honestly, with a guy who was Puerto Rican descent. He was blonde, blue eyed, and more, um, he was more, white looking, I guess you could say. But he had full lips. And it felt very weird. Very weird. And I thought at the time, because it was my first kiss, I was like, oh, was I 16? I think. And I thought maybe it was just I was doing it wrong. Well, there was another time when I got older, and another guy, I was with, and I was like, he was Jewish, and I realized that I just didn't like full lips. And the reason I don't like full lips is just kind of like a thing of, it feels like I'm kissing a girl. It feels soft, basically. I try and push my lips harder on their mouth, and it would end up being bad. It would be a bad kiss because, um, yeah, it just wasn't feeling right, really, for me. I didn't know what that was about. I just thought I didn't like kissing or something at first. Until I realized, when I kissed guys who had much thinner lips, it was totally fine. And this can really mess me up, honestly, when it comes to sexually. Because one time I was actually, I had, I guess, a friends with benefits situation, and it's when I was in college, and well, I was right out of college actually, and I remember trying to kiss me, and he had fuller lips. He was white, but just fuller lips. And I remember thinking, like, oh, this isn't gonna work. Like, my body will tense up automatically, and like, I can't have sex if I tense up, basically. Because I'm very small down there, basically. So, like, if I tense up, it's over. I can't have sex, basically. So, I mean, full lips are a thing that are a turnoff for me. I don't like them. They aren't very attractive to me when it comes to the feasibility of the situation and basically how it feels to me. Now, do I think full lips look beautiful? Yes, I do. I've always thought big lips were very, very, very beautiful. And I think that on men and women. But, I guess in reality, they are feminine traits, so it's not something I can really think of as something that is sexually appealing for me. A lot of traits on black men are just not sexually appealing. For example, a black man's, the rest of his face is extremely feminine. Like, his lips are the least feminine to me because it's just lips. But for example, he has high cheekbones, soft round nose, almond-shaped eyes, and a brow ridge that just doesn't exist. All that, for me, implies a feminine face. I would also say that I generally prefer um, a lighter complexion because one, darker skin just means more feminine to me, but secondarily, darker skin on a man is really bad because down there, basically to me, black men, their area down below looks like something that I push out of my butt, basically. So I could never have sex with them, like, in any regard. I could never be with them in that way. Now, the thing is, I generally don't share that part of my preference or lack of preference towards black men. I generally just say I'm not sexually attracted to them. The problem is, black men love to dig. They keep digging and digging and digging until they find the real reason why I don't find them attractive. And it's like, most of the time, why can't we just leave it at the point where, you could just say, I'm not attracted to a black man, and that's it? But it's always like, it seems like black men get more triggered by the fact that you're just not attracted to them phenotypically than someone who is phenotypically attracted to them, but is bashing them on their personality day in and day out. And I never understand that because it's like, these are just personal things for me, and it doesn't even specifically have to do with me hating them or thinking negative things of them. It's just a matter of the physicalities of my body don't respond to a black man's phenotype. For example, when I post certain photos and certain things, I could actually have a reaction by looking at a photo. I can't do that by black men. Some of the men that I dated, if I saw their photo, I'm saying, for example, I would have that reaction, but I wouldn't have that with a black man. So, I mean, I just don't understand why it's such a big deal to not, prefer a black man's phenotype sexually, when I will say myself that I don't think black men are bad men. I also think that black men can find an attractive, beautiful, white, Hispanic, Asian, black, mix, or whatever race I did not list just now, woman, or if they don't prefer women, men, or whoever they prefer, okay? I don't care who black men get with. All I care about is two things. Black men don't harass me, and hopefully I kind of wish that black men don't like me, generally. Because when black men like me, it's more of a problem. I feel uncomfortable and stuff. So I prefer black men to just, keep a distance from me or have a preference, strong preference for someone else. Do not bother me. Do not, get upset at my preference or anything of that nature. But, I feel like a lot of the time with black men, it's like a trigger on top of this whole situation. And I've found this over and over again with the fact of who I prefer specifically, because I prefer men who are white, but I prefer different races of men, honestly. Hispanic, mixed race, South Asian, Middle Eastern, North African, Southern European, and sometimes Northern European as well. And of European men, European descent, basically, men of European descent. Um, Usually, I feel more of a sense of I am very selective in who I'm attracted to when it comes to men of that background. And it works out pretty well because, I mean, they're the majority. So even though it's a select few, it's still quite a lot because most men are white. So it's really helpful that it's a specific select few. But I was talking about this earlier, and somebody was really triggered because I was saying how I preferred men who were younger and um, they were more, I guess you could say, more attractive. They're more like 8, 9. I am specifically the type who I will do things to make sure that well, I don't want to get into that because that seems way too shallow, actually. Never mind. But point is, they were very attractive men. And specifically, I said a few of the men that I've dated were models. I've never dated an unattractive man, by anyone's standards, honestly. It's just generally for me, I generally dated younger, attractive, white and Hispanic men. There's how many times? 3 times I've dated. No, 2 times actually. One time I dated another guy. Um, 2 Hispanic guys, and you know, I don't know. For me, it's just like generally the kind of men I just have ever had any inkling towards were generally what people would consider conventionally attractive and generally much younger. But it's just like, I don't understand why some people feel like they have to think a black woman can only be with a white man for like money or something of that nature. Because like I did a live once and there was these people who were like trying to tell me that they believed or thought or told me that I dated white older men with money. And it was weird because it was like, just because I like white men, you just assumed I liked older white men with money? It's under the pretense, I think, that, attraction to another race is not natural, it's not organic, it's not believable, it's not trustworthy, It's not something that is innate, And therefore, there's got to be an impetus that makes you want to date outside of your race because naturally you wouldn't do that. But the thing is, not everyone is made the same. Just like, for example, some people aren't attracted to the opposite sex. Some people are attracted to their same sex. Some people are, not attracted to anyone. So obviously, if people don't even have to be attracted to their opposite sex, it's quite clear and obvious some people could literally be born only attracted to other races of men or women. And I think generally it comes with that racist view that people are naturally only attracted to their own race that I just don't really appreciate, that concept, especially as someone who naturally was never attracted to her own race. Literally, since I was very young, one, in my environment, I was always taught to prefer white men. And nowadays, it's kind of like, of course, I'm open to white men because of that and because of my culture and background. Many of the time when I interact with black men and women, it feels culturally like there's a difference, honestly. And this is just on a basis of just interactions, not prospective partners. I would not consider either a black man or a black woman as a potential partner, you know. But culturally, sometimes people who associate such a thing with like black culture are very foreign to me because in my family, I was never taught there was such a thing as a black culture. I was taught that there's an American culture and black and white people share the same culture. So when people act like, um, you're dating outside of your culture, well, for me, that would kind of be with black people anyway. But I mean, I wouldn't even consider black people because I'm not attracted to them in the first place. But with interactions of just like acquaintances, especially with black women, there can be a difference off of, them associating with a culture that I was taught didn't even exist. But yeah, I just find it very annoying, that people, even in this day and age, want to act like, everyone is the same like them, attracted to their own race. And I wanted to also add one more thing. When people have anger and angst and wishing to make other black men and black women jealous of them for being in interracial relationships, it's quite obvious they aren't real swirlers, or at least they're attracted to black men and black women, and it's not a real organic interest. Now, you can have an organic interest in somebody of another race, but your impetus to be attracted to them could be on the basis of trying to basically get somebody back. Which, if you're doing that, it's just immature. One, two, you're not really looking in the best interest of yourself and your own happiness because you're just thinking of other people to get back at. Personally, for me, like when people assume that I'm one of those invested or divested swirlers or whatever, I'm just like, no, that's not me. That's not what I do. I don't really care what other black men do. I support black men swirling, honestly. I don't really have any concern why I would, you know, why would I have an issue with it? To me, honestly, if I was a black man, I would probably prefer white women or what I prefer now, basically, because, well, maybe I would prefer dark skinned black women. I'm not really sure, but I probably would be at least open to it, probably. Maybe. But I couldn't imagine me saying I would not date a white woman. That would seem odd. To me, from my perspective, it's like black Americans and, white Americans live in this country, and we've lived in this country for centuries. And, black Americans have been a minority all this time, and we've been around white people all this time, so our environment has basically included them enough for our sexuality to have a preference towards them. So I find it odd that many black people would not consider being with people of another race when most of their options are probably going to be of another race because the majority of people aren't black in America. So, I mean, let's just look at the probability of the situation and it will tell you basically where, you know, you're more likely to end up. So that's why, to me, I support both sides of swirlers, black men swirlers and black women swirlers. My thing is, I just don't like all the anger and angst and issue with both sides. I get annoyed when black women get angry at black men for dating out, and I get annoyed when black men get upset at black women for dating out. For me, I just wish people would, you know, just be more of the mindset that people prefer what they prefer, and no one can really change that. Personally, for me, I prefer other races of men than black men or Asian men. And I'm not anti Asian men, and I'm not anti black men. I just don't have an attraction to them. It's not for money, it's not to be with an older man, it's not that I fetishize white features and am with, any white man. I generally am not attracted to most white men. I'm only attracted to specific white men. And I'm posting some slideshows so then you guys can get kind of a feel of the type of guys that I'm into and also what some of the guys I've dated look like, similar to, basically. Um, so yeah, that's basically all I have to say on this video. I just wish people could understand people are individuals, so some swirlers will have different perspectives than other swirlers, and that's basically it. I don't try to judge black women swirlers or black men swirlers either way. I kind of try to have an open book, generally. Of course, fake swirlers are kind of the most annoying swirlers, but sometimes they can be entertaining. And I will leave on that. Thanks for listening. Bye.